Welcome to the Wise Women Podcast and our debut season, Wisdom's Discovery, Finding Your Center at the Edge. Because some moments in life call us to our edge and then beckon us to expand beyond it. In this season, we dive into the shared experiences of 20 remarkable women. And through honest conversation, we explore together the moments that shape us, stretch us, undo us, and ultimately return us to ourselves. I'm Katherine Jelinek, and this is the Wise Women Podcast. Hello, everyone. It's my pleasure to welcome Dawn Barson, EOS Implementer. Dawn, thank you so much for being here.
Thanks for having me.
Really excited to hear your story. So where does your story begin?
My story begins probably in my early teens when I was brought into my family business. So growing up, we moved quickly to Connecticut from New York, and my father decided to open up his business. So I was 4 years old when he opened up his first business. And I think I would play there often with the cash register and just kind of like pretending that I owned it. And then I quickly got into the business as fast as I could. And I remember, just literally putting like labels on envelopes as my first job. But I always wanted to know more. I wanted to know how it ran. I wanted to understand marketing. I wanted to understand sales. I wanted to understand customer service. I was very inquisitive about the whole thing. And I knew from the moment I stepped into his office that I wanted to own my own business, period, end of story. I never wanted to work for anybody. I just knew that. And so I worked in the business growing up, really just continuing to grow up in the business, and went to university, studied management and marketing while I was still working in the business. And then after graduating, I actually took over the business for a few years. And I helped it expand into different markets and really start to work on name recognition. But then there was this moment where I wanted my own, right? That was our family business. And I really wanted my own business. And my sister was graduating from university. And I remember calling her up on the phone and saying, "Hey, Kat, what are you going to do when you graduate?" She went to school for like accounting and then like archaeology. And I was like,
Wow.
yeah. I was like, "What are you going to do?" She's like, "I don't know." I said, "I do. We're starting a business," because it was at that point where I could see that not only did I want a business, but I could see that there was an up and coming emerging market, which was the World Wide Web.
Well, you were there for that. I mean, like,
Yeah. And I was like, "We're going to start a web design company." And so we did. We spent a few years doing that. I was always the one in the family who was the hard worker. No is not an answer. Like, I can do it. I can power through it. I can make it happen. I'm not a quitter. I will do this. And I would be the one that would also put in, she'd maybe put in like, 30, 40 hours, and I'd be like the 60-hour person. I was just picking up all the slack and making it all work. And then she decided to start a family. And at that time, I had been actually talking to someone. When we started the web design company, we were helping people build websites. It was a time where we literally were talking to people about why you need a website, right? So it was like back then. Yeah, it was way back then. But what we realized is that a website wasn't enough. Like, this was a brand new medium. It was a brand new platform. And what we thought is if we built it, they would come. And we realized that that wasn't entirely true. So we started moving more into having, more the marketing side and the generating traffic to the website. So we were partnering up with another company on some projects. And when my sister decided to leave and start a family, this other business and I decided to merge and form a full service marketing agency. And I was like, this is going to be awesome, because not only are we going to build the website, but we're actually going to deliver the traffic and get them the leads. And I was so excited. I've always been so excited to like help businesses grow. Out of the gates, it just was fire. It was like, yeah, we had so many clients and so much work. And it was like, it went from just a few of us to like 10 of us, like almost overnight. And with that, we had all these growing pains because it was just like, we were literally along for the ride. And she and I were young. We were working ungodly hours and almost felt like it was, we were in like a little bit of a competition with each other, like who could get into the office earlier, who stayed the latest. And that was a fun game for a while until I started feeling like we did this for, a couple of years, and I started feeling the pressure. I really started feeling the kind of the drain, right? It was a huge drain, and we had turnover, and I had expectations that weren't being met. And, she wanted to do this and I wanted to do that. Not only that, we were, constantly servicing our clients to the 10th degree, and what I realized was if I kept doing this, I was going to crash. I was just going to burn out and crash. There became a point where, she came into my office and she said to me, "Hey, could we go for a walk?" And I was like, "Oh, this is not a good sign. We never go for a walk. We never went for a walk. This is something like," I was like, "Oh, we're going to lose her." And I started already formulating like how I was going to replace her, who I was going to replace her with, what the business was going to look like. And we went for the walk, and she said, "I've got something really important to tell you, something really big to tell you." And I said, "Okay, tell me." I'm like, "I really need to know what you have to tell me. Like, tell me." And she said, "I'm pregnant." And I was like, "Oh my God, that's so awesome." And I was like, "No, this is kind of worse in some ways than I thought." Because in my mind, I could permanently figure out the solution to the problem. But with her, starting a family, I didn't know what that was going to look like. I didn't know what maternity leave was going to look like. I didn't know what was going to happen when she came back. And so for me, this was like a moment of like, oh, shoot, we need to figure this thing out so you can enjoy your maternity leave, so you can enjoy being a mom, and that I don't, like crumble in the
Take it
process.
all on.
Yeah, so I don't take it all on, and then like I don't even know what's going to happen. So it was a moment where I just realized that leading up to this point, my personality had always been like 100% on. It was give at 100% to this thing that I'm doing, to anything I was doing, to whatever was in front of me. I would always give 110, probably 150%. And I always thought that was a good thing. Growing up, my parents pushed me. They pushed me to, you could do anything, you can be anything, you can have anything. And they would always challenge me when I would think small. And so I got that drive of like, I can do it all. I can have it all. I can do anything. And what I never realized was that doing that, there is actually a balance, because doing that isn't necessarily healthy for long periods of time, at least not for me.
Yeah.
Right. My mental, I don't know, like my, I was having issues with it. Right. I wasn't able to, I didn't think I could sustain it long term. And part of me felt a little bit like a failure for that. So there was like a little piece in the back of my head thinking, am I failing? Because, that like failure was never an option for me. I would always do whatever it took to get there.
Okay. So then this revelation from your friend and business partner was coming at a time where this was already in the back of your head, knowing that you needed to ask these questions of yourself.
Yeah.
And
Yeah,
then
for sure.
what she brought up forced you to ask them kind of as a whole for the both of you.
Yeah.
So where was your first next step? Like, how did you begin to approach that?
Well, so in my mind, I don't remember how far along she was when she told me, but we had months to figure this out. So we now had a deadline, which was actually quite helpful, because instead of just saying, "Oh, I'll deal with it when, we'll figure it out when, like at some point we'll calm down and we'll figure it out then." Now I had this like pressing deadline to figure this out. So it was actually quite interesting, because I had it in my head. She approached me. We now had a strong reason to make a big change. And we also, at that time too, someone handed me the book Traction, was like, "This is an amazing book. You should read it."
That was at this time?
Yeah, it was
Wow.
all at the same time. It was just really crazy. It was like someone's like, "Here, just take it.
Wow.
Like, you have to figure this
What
out."
you need.
Yeah. Here's everything you need. You have a deadline. You have a big thing that's going to be happening, that's going to change the way that you operate your business. And here's the book that you need to read. And so I remember reading it very quickly
Mm.
and thinking, "Oh my gosh, this is it. This is exactly what we need. This has been the missing piece for all along. We just kept growing and growing and growing, but we were feeling the growing pains. You know, they were strong. They were evident." So I read Traction. We implemented Traction in the business, and it took a little while, but we turned it all around. So she had another child, and so we were able to take vacations
Well,
without.
hey, and you got
Yeah,
some of those, yeah?
yeah. So because vacations used to be me tied to my laptop or my phone, same with her. So we actually got to enjoy time off, and I mean, all the amazing things that EOS does for a company, we witnessed them firsthand. It was just absolutely transformational. I think we ran EOS in my business for about 5 years, and it was interesting because the work that we did was so obvious to other people in our industry. Like, they were like, "What are you guys doing? You
Oh,
seem
your
different."
difference. Wow.
Yeah, yeah. And two people approached us pretty much at the same time to buy us. They wanted to buy us, people from our industry, and we
Because
sold.
of the shift that you
Because of
made?
the shift. Yeah, I attribute it 100% to EOS, because some of the work that we did in there, not only was that internal work that we had to do, but when we really had to get clear on our core focus and not let our we were two visionaries running this company.
Lots of firepower.
Yeah, yeah. So we had lots of ideas and lots of things. And so really getting laser focused and staying laser focused with, what we wanted to be best at, and why we created the business to begin with, and staying laser focused on that. That also allowed us to evolve in an area that gave us a competitive advantage, which was interesting. So it was the whole, internal structure that really was, overhauled. And in addition to that, because of really getting aligned with our core focus, we were able to do things that people were like, what are you doing? Like, you were one of us just, not too long ago, and now you're like over here. How did you do that? So definitely, we were able to do that. And at that point I was like, huh, yeah, I let's sell. I think I want to sell. So it was time. We ran the business for 14 years.
Congratulations.
Thank
Yeah,
you.
that's a good run.
Yeah, yeah, it was a really good run, and I always loved it. I always loved helping businesses. When I thought about the business that I wanted to go into, it was a business to help other businesses. That's what I wanted. Even when I was in the family business, I wanted to see how to make it better. Like, how could we improve this, and how could we improve that, and what could we change here to be more efficient, and how could we improve our customer service and every touch point along the way. Like, I always wanted to improve the business. And so being able to now do that with other businesses is really cool. So every business I created, from the very first business I started all the way through to now, it's always been about helping businesses, do better, succeed, right? Just in different capacities.
I love that. And it's straight through to your early days with your dad in the family
Yeah.
businesses. It's a
Yeah.
part of you. But
Yeah.
I'm curious about balance and you
Mhm.
actually integrating that as a person, because that's not like a flip of a switch per se, even if you do start creating the time with the beautiful things that EOS created for
Mhm.
you as a person and a leader and for the business, you know, like it's an inner rewiring to some degree to
Yeah.
actually begin to live differently. Like, walk me through that. Like, where
Yeah.
did that begin and what did you have to go through to begin claiming balance? What does that look like for you even?
Yeah, well, I'm still working on it, but I think the big shift was a shift in thinking that I needed balance. For a long time, I never thought I needed balance. I just thought I needed to work harder and do more.
Mm,
And that was what I was striving to do. So when I was coming up to the point where I was like, all right, I'm going to burn out if nothing changes, I knew that that needed to change. And that was the starting point for me thinking differently about how I show up in my business.
yeah.
Yeah, and so getting that, quality time with my family, with my husband, with, not being tied to my computer during vacations, things like that. My husband and I would always be like, "Oh, well, it's work. It's work. It's work. It's work." Like, it's okay. Like, it's work. It's work. And so anything else, we'd be like, "No, I'll call so and so back tomorrow. We're spending time together." But if it was work, it could intrude.
Mm,
And it just got to the point where my work intruded so much more, And in the back of my head, I always just felt like, oh, I'll get to this point and then it will change, but it didn't. And that moment of burnout made me start to actually just be aware of that scenario, how easy it is to open up space and then fill the space. with more stuff, more distractions, more things, more mastery, more, whatever it is, right? More time. So it was a long, so when I sold the company, I thought long and hard about the next chapter. And since then, it's been a little bit of a roller coaster on making it really happen.
Yeah.
But it's at least something I am striving towards. And if I do look back, I put 150% in when I'm in the session with my clients, when I'm on a call with my client, when I'm doing something with my client. But when I'm not, I'm thinking about, my life, right, with my family, and I'm thinking about that relaxation, which was never even a word in my vocabulary.
Yeah.
Any moment that I had was filled with something and had to be filled with something, or I felt like I wasn't achieving to my highest potential. Now, I don't I catch myself at times, but that's not how I show up anymore. I show up more with downtime, which I mean, I don't that was a form
You're
of
like,
downtime.
who am I?
Yeah, I'm like, really, how did that, so I've done a lot more work on myself. At a very early age, we were always listening to, personal development. And my sister and I did the Tony Robbins Firewalk when we were like 18. So I was 18 and she was like 16 or something like that, and so we've always been in that. But I think I would always think about that as the next level to push at. And now I'm looking at things that are more like balancing and more meditation and more calming and more, that nature, and just, being able to sit down, quiet, relax, and not feel like I have to just keep going, going, going. But I think early on it was ingrained in me to just like do more, push harder, be better.
Yeah. Well, I mean,
Yeah.
a lot of our society mirrors that back as success is when you're achieving. And so,
Right.
when we think of achieving is never stop doing, continue to push,
Yes. Right.
right?
Right. You don't take a break.
Yes, yes. And I
Yeah.
love, you were at so many things so early, so young, like accomplishing, thinking certain ways so early. So it's fascinating to get to hear, so you've crossed all these hurdles, done all of these things, sold the company, did the firewalk. So so then what? What
Yeah.
conquering do you have left? But I
Yeah.
think it's fascinating. I want to know, what does fuel you? Like, I mean, I get that you've got a huge
Yeah.
capacity where you can keep going for a long time. Then there is the burnout that you had to contend with. But
Yeah. Yeah.
today, like, what does recharge you? Like, what does relaxation actually look like? You mentioned meditation and
Yeah.
sitting down.
Yep. Yeah. So one of the it's kind of funny. One of the things that refuels me and recharges me is riding, stationary bike, like riding the Peloton and working out. That just, I don't know. I really feel good about doing those things. I wouldn't say those are relaxation things, but I
Recharging though.
do. Yeah, they are recharged because I feel like I'm doing something good for my body. So that's good. Also, just, it took me a really long time just to just sit down and relax, just really truly like shut it off and relax. And so that's now something that's in my vocabulary of,
Amazing.
like going to a nice dinner with my husband and really just like, being there,
Yeah.
or watching a movie and just, no phone in sight, nothing in sight, just being present in that. And I still have a long way to go with that because it's not built into my DNA. But definitely, again, I'm aware that that's where I want to be and what I want to work towards. And I have moments where I have setbacks, and my husband will be like, uh, yeah, so you haven't stopped for a second today, have you? And I'm like, no, thank you, And then I'm like, all right, I'm going to make a priority to just relax, which is still can be challenging at times. Sometimes my mind and body want to go do something and fill the space. So I think for me, the biggest thing really is just the mind shift and the awareness, so that I can try and work more of it into my life, and really just being okay with sitting still and not doing anything, and not having that guilt around not doing anything, because not doing anything is actually doing something.
It's unfortunately, this is something I think a lot of us are trying to shift in our hardwiring, like
Yeah.
the
Yeah.
productivity thing, the beliefs that we've built up around what we really should be doing and how
Yeah.
to be. Have you noticed any difference in how you show up for your clients or how you work now that you are doing things that recharge you, taking moments to pause, balancing? Like, is there a difference in how Dawn shows up when she's out there, like achieving and pressing it down to the pedal again?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I do think that there is. I think that because I can be present, fully present with my clients, that I can let go of whatever is or was happening in that moment, and I can really just like really listen to them and see them and understand them. I think that that helps a tremendous amount. Whereas, in my agency, we always did great work. We won tons of awards for our work. We always did great work, but it just felt like it was like everything was rapid fire, you know? And the result was there, but the presence wasn't always there. The
Mhm.
time that we could, just be with our clients wasn't there as much as I would have liked. I think the result still was okay. I mean, like I said, we won many awards, but I do think having that, downtime allows me to connect better. It also allows me to be more creative. It allows me to think about something that was said and look at it in a completely different light
Mhm.
because I have the space. Or sometimes, when I'm just relaxing, something that they said in a session room pops into my mind and I think, oh, you know what? I think they're not grasping this. And I now have a new creative way to share something with them that may be helpful for them to understand the impact or, whatever it is. So I just feel like it gives me more space to think and just be present.
Yeah, and I'm hearing the presence leading to more connection, deeper
Yeah.
listening, better understanding. And then when you have that space in your mind and in your own being, those creative solutions can drop in
Yeah.
for the client and probably for yourself or
Yeah.
so where's the edge of learning balance? Where does it have you now? Like what's the current not so easy part that you're leaning into?
Okay. So meditation is a not so easy part for me.
For many of us. And it can come and go too.
Yeah, 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 staying consistent with that and really following through definitely have that's a challenge for me sometimes just to do that. But I think more than anything is remembering what I want and seeing when I'm not doing what I want, right? Like remembering that I want the balance. Like, if somebody said this to me 10 years ago, you need balance, I'd be like, yeah, balance. Okay, check,
Right.
like
Done. Over.
balance over. Yeah, exactly. Accomplished, finished.
Thank you.
Yeah, yeah. I'd be like check that off my list. Now I feel like balance is more of a journey, and the
Mm.
awareness in the journey is probably the most powerful thing, or the thing that I have to keep going back to and reminding myself. So first of all, the new definition to me of what balance is, and then being able to be aware when I'm shifting in the wrong direction that I want to be, right? Because balance is different for every single person. And so, so what that means to me and how I show up and what I do, what I give to myself, to my family, et cetera, it's really that awareness and that ability to like shift again, right? To say, okay, you know what? I was a little off track. I want to get back on track. So it's that journey of just kind of realigning with it and what I really want.
Oh, I love it. Being able to label balance as a journey rather than something we can accomplish like
Yeah.
that. And that we're always kind of shifting around our relationship in alignment with it.
Yeah.
That's good.
Yeah.
Because it's not like
Yeah.
we're not always changing, and our
Right.
what balance means for my life today is very different than 5 years ago. I mean,
100%. And, there's still going to be weeks where I'm just like, you
hmm,
know, at going at 10, instead of maybe the 6 that I want to go at. And that's just how it is. And just reminding myself that this is short, it's sometimes required. It's not derailing me. It's okay. And I can, still find balance in all of this. Where it's just again that awareness of like where can I find the balance in this week, right? Like usually like leading up to a trip or something gets a little hectic and
and
crazy,
then
you know?
and then collecting yourself after that. I feel like that's what I'm
Exactly.
going through right now.
Yeah, okay, yep, yeah, yeah, yeah. I think almost anyone can relate to, like, the pre and post vacation.
Yes, it's like, oh, I need a vacation from my
Yeah,
vacation.
exactly, exactly. So, it's just, again, just reminding myself that I'm on this journey and that and how can I find balance in this? What's something that I can do today that creates that balance and doesn't get me like re-sucked back into the chaos and moving at, 100 miles an hour.
So if there was a young woman reading your chapter and she's can identify with you and
Mhm.
is at the beginning of everything, like beginning of her career and everything like that, what do you wish you could whisper to that younger you?
What do I wish I could whisper to that younger me? Well, I think I would whisper that it's, a journey, not a destination. And that, there is no end point to this.
Yeah.
It's always an evolution.
Yeah.
And if you keep going at 100 miles an hour, it's not going to get you the result that you thought that it would, Like you think that working harder, working faster, working more is going to be the answer. But in fact, it's actually counter to what you ultimately want. Because I don't know what would have happened if my business partner didn't have a baby then. I don't know what would have happened if I didn't have that pressure and someone didn't hand me the book Traction. I don't know what would have happened. I might be in a very different situation where I, did completely burn out and then I would be pretty useless and I wouldn't have achieved all the things that I want to achieve. And I think that you can, steadily achieve what you want to achieve. And I'm still an overachiever. I still have a ton of drive, but you can find the balance in that to still recharge to get you where you want to go. I mean, I think of it like a little bit like fitness, right? If every single time you go for a run, you're going, as fast as you can for as long as you can, it's not sustainable, A, and B, it's not even supportive of the goal that you have because you don't give yourself enough downtime to recharge to then get to the next level. So you plateau, you peak, and even too, you can create injuries and all sorts of things. And I think it's the same thing with life. And if we think of life as that everything that we do in that balance, I think you can achieve everything that you want and still enjoy the journey along the way.
Oof. Very good. Very well said. And so then, just like in the closing, what do you feel like is the summary of the wisdom you've gained on this journey of balance?
Yeah, so I think a lot of what I just said is probably the wisdom, but I think really finding what is the right balance for you in the balance
Yeah.
is really important, like not trying to have somebody else's version of working hard or achieving or balancing or any of that. So again, somebody like me who's like, type A, driven, right? Is looking only at yourself and what you want and staying true to what you want and then figuring out the best way to get there. And that doesn't necessarily mean just go crazy. You
Yeah.
know, that it's really understanding the need for the balance and just finding that, but for you, not for me, not for somebody else, not the achievements of somebody else, not the downtime of somebody else, not because someone says you need to do yoga, but it's really committing to yourself because if you don't do that, you will never really find what you want and you'll never really stick to the thing that's going to help you in 3 years, 5 years, 10 years, 20 years, 30 years. Like now I'm looking farther out. When I was younger, I just looked like right in front of me. It's like, yeah, I'm going to create this like $10 million business and that's all I'm going to do. And that's the only thing I have in mind. And I'm creating a $10 million business. And we're going to be the best and our clients are going to love us and we're going to get awards. But it's just life is more than that. And it took me a minute to even figure that out.
Well, I'm pretty impressed with everything. All the you very powerful woman, Dawn. And what comes into your focus is absolutely going to become something that gets really solidly and thoroughly accomplished. And even if that is balance and alignment,
Yeah. Yeah.
And I love that you're holding the nuance for like your balance, things that recharge you, like driving on the Peloton may not be someone else's, right?
Right.
But that's exactly the part of the journey is the
It
discovery
is.
of that.
It is. It is.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it is. It definitely is. You have to find that balance for yourself. And I think that's probably the most important thing is to find what you want for yourself and then do what you need for yourself. Not for, not somebody else's rules.
Great. Well, there's no better way to end it than that, I think. Thank you so much, Dawn, for all the layers of this story and for the inspiration around just digging into our own versions of balance. I definitely needed this today myself. It's true. Yes. Happy to receive. Wonderful. And everyone looking forward to, well, we're not going to hear it per se, but best wishes in your reflections on balance and the journey that it is, I think, for each of us. Great eye opener, though, Dawn. Thank you so much.
You're very welcome. Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you for listening to the Wise Women podcast. You can find the book, Wisdom's Discovery, Finding Your Center at the Edge, on Amazon and barnesandnoble.com. And keep listening to the wisdom that your life is offering you.